Hi, welcome to videomathlessons.com. This is a Algebra 2 and Trigonometry 5-minute review, or roughly thereabouts. And what we're going to talk about are quadratics, and specifically we're going to talk about completing the square. Now, before you freak out about completing the square, just remember, you can do this. You can do this. So let's get started. Now, this is a Regents question that they've asked about completing the square, and this is kind of a little more advanced. So let's talk about this one to start with. So it says 2x squared minus 12x plus 4 equals 0. And they want, by completing the square, they say specifically you must do completing the square. So you can't factor it, which it doesn't factor. Quadratic formula, if they didn't say complete the square, that's a really good way to do this problem. But they said flat out you have to complete the square. And actually, once you get good at completing the square, you might find it easier than quadratic formula. So let's get started. Now, the first issue is I can't have a lead coefficient. So I want to get rid of this 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Both sides. I'm going to divide, both sides, but everything by 2. And some people are like, well, 0 divided by 2. Well, it's just 0. It doesn't matter. But look what happens here. So I get no lead coefficient. That's nice. Minus 6x. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now, when you do complete the square, you want x's on one side and regular numbers on the other. So I'm going to move this 2 over. So it's going to be x squared minus 6x equals negative 2. And here we go. We're going to complete the square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take half of this middle part, this 6x. So inside it's going to be x minus 3. And I'm going to square it. Now, if I actually squared this, it wouldn't equal x squared minus 6x, because this 3 by itself, when you square it, is a 9, a positive 9. It's always positive when you're going to do this. So to make this true, to complete the square, I have to add 9 to this side to make this really turn out to be this. Well, you just can't go adding things to one side of an equation, so I have to balance it by putting a plus 9 on this side. And clean this side up. I get 7. Now, this is actually, besides the lead coefficient, once you got to this part, it's not that bad because the middle term is even. That makes it a lot easier for us. So now let's do this. To get rid of the square, I have to take square root. And when I take the square root, so I got x minus 3. I have to do the plus minus, just like when you see the quadratic formula. So I get plus minus rad 7. I could try breaking down rad 7. It doesn't break down, so just leave it. And it said, by the way, there was a hint. It said simplest radical form. So the last step is to move the 3 over. So it's not a like term, so you can't put it inside this. It's just going to sit right in front. So the answer is 3 plus minus rad 7, which is the same thing you would have gotten if you did quadratic formula. Let's try it again. So now, if x squared plus 2 equals 6x is solved by completing the square, what would be an intermediate step? Well, since it's multiple choice, they don't want you just throwing this in a quadratic formula and just writing down an answer. So they want you to actually kind of do it a little bit, just so they know that you know how to do complete the square. All right, so let's say now, we said earlier, x's have to be on one side and the regular numbers on the other. So I'm going to move the 6x over to the x squared. So this is going to go this way. And the 2 is going to go this way. So I'm going to get x squared minus 6x equals negative 2. Hold on. It's the exact same problem as before. This is the same problem. So on 1 year, they gave you that part, and then a year later, 2 years later, they threw a coefficient in front. It's the same numbers. So I'm looking for these steps in here. So which step do I have? There it is. It's right there. That's the step they're talking about. So that's one of the steps. Choice 2. Let's try it again. One last one. So once again, there, right? Look, they gave us an equation. They fixed it a little bit, and so they said, what would you have to do? Like, what's he have to add to both sides? All right, so let's see what now. At this step, I would take half the middle, so it would be 7 halves. And so we're going to square it. Now, if I square 7 halves, you add 49 over 4. Now, this is what I was talking about. This is an odd number, so it gets a little weird. In Math 12, pre-calculus, this is fair game. Usually we don't do it so much in Algebra 2. We learned it in Algebra 2. We actually did some of them in Algebra 2. But notice they didn't ask us to finish this thing. It's something with radical 93. You know, it's a little bit crazy. All they were looking for is, what are you going to add to both sides? I'm going to add 49 over 4. Choice 2. That's it. Hopefully this video helps you. Any more questions, feel free to go to the website. You can look for other videos. And just remember, you can do this. You can do this. Have a nice night.